Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. Thrall stood at the edge of the council hall, staring into the crackling fire pit that illuminated the massive room. The glow of the flames danced across the towering walls, adorned with relics of battles, long past war axes, shattered shields, and banners drenched in the blood of those who once sought glory on distant fields. The murmurs of discontent among the gathered orcus reached his ears like the hiss of a slow-burning fuse, and he could feel their unrest building. The elders sat in a semicircle before him, their faces hardened by years of war and leadership. Beyond them, the gathered Orcish warriors, both young and old, watched him with a mix of suspicion and frustration. The tension in the air was thick, palpable, and Thrall knew that this night would not end without a decisive shift. His leadership was being questioned. His vision for peace, once hailed as the saving grace of their people, now hung in the balance as whispers of revolt echoed in every corner of the hall. One of the elders, a scarred veteran named Greshnar, slammed his fist against the table. We were once feared across the lands. Our enemies trembled at the sound of our war drum. And now, under Thrall's leadership, we are seen as diplomats and farmers. Is this what we have become, weaklings? Have we forgotten what it means to be orc? Thrall says, fingers tightened around the hilt of his hammer, Doomhammer, which rested at his side. His blue eyes, sharp as the steel he wielded, swept across the room. We have not forgotten what it means to be orc, he said, his voice steady, though he could feel the weight of every word. But glory does not lie in endless war. Our people have been enslaved, betrayed, and led to the brink of extinction. Peace is not weakness, it is strength. Greshnar spat into the fire, the flames hissing in response. Strength is in blood and battle. Strength is in showing our enemies that we are not to be trifled with. The old ways made us strong. A chorus of grunts and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Thrall knew many of them longed for the days when Orcus rode into battle without hesitation, conquering and claiming with unyielding force. But he had seen what that path led to: corruption, suffering, and the near destruction of their race. I will not lead our people down a path that will see us enslaved again, Thrall continued, raising his voice to meet the growing unrest. We are more than brute strength. We are honor, we are family, and we are future. From the shadows near the edge of the hall, Garona, the half-orc assassin, watched the exchange with narrowed eye. She had been silent throughout the council's debates, but her mind had been working furiously. Her allegiances lay not with Thrall's South's vision of diplomacy, but with the violent resurgence that many of the old guard craved. She could see the growing cracks in Thrall's leadership, and she intended to exploit them. Greshnar rose to his feet, his broad shoulders and tusks making him appear even more imposing in the firelight. You speak of honor, Thrall, but what honor is there in letting our enemies grow bold while we talk and negotiate? The humans, the elves, they see us as weak. They mock us behind their walls while we sit idly. Thrall's heart pounded in his chest. He knew the Orcas had suffered greatly, but peace was not the absence of honor. Yet, his words fell thin against the tide of growing resentment. He needed something more. He needed to remind them of their true legacy. But what was that legacy? Had he lost sight of it himself? The council meeting dissolved into further arguments, each faction taking sides with some urging for a return to conquest and others standing by Thrall, albeit shakily. It became clear that the unity he had fought so hard to build was slipping through his fingers. Later that night, Thrall sat alone in his tent, staring at the hammer of his ancestors, Doomhammer. The weight of leadership bore down on him as never before. The memory of his old mentor, Gromish Hellscream, haunted him. Gromish had been a legend, a hero to the Orcus, yet even he had struggled with the choices that Thrall now faced. Thrall longed to speak with him to seek his wisdom, but the dead did not speak, not in the way he needed. Suddenly, a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Garona, her form slipping into the tent like a shadow. They won't follow you much longer, she said, her voice low and calculating. You know that, don't you? Thrall's eyes flicked to her, suspicion immediately creeping into his mind. Garona was not to be trusted, but her words cut deep because they were true. I want to betray our people's future for the whims of those who cannot see beyond their own pride. Garona smiled faintly, stepping closer. Then you must remind them why you are the war chief. They look to you for strength, Thrall, not words. If you can, to give them that, someone else will. She let the implication hang in the air before leaving her exit, as quiet as her arrival. Thrall clenched his fist around Doomhammer to handle the weight of her words sinking into him. She was right. If he did need to do something soon, the Orcus would splinter, and they would follow someone like Greshnar into another age of endless bloodshed. In the days that followed, Thrall made a decision. He would travel to the ancient battlefield where Gromish Hellscream had fought his final battle, seeking guidance from the spirits of their ancestors. He had to find the true meaning of Orcish honor and restore it before the tribe tore itself apart. Garona, ever the opportunist, volunteered to accompany him on his journey. Thrall accepted her offer, knowing full well that she had her own agenda. But for now, he needed all the support he could muster, even if it came from someone as dangerous as Garona. The journey was long and arduous, through harsh landscapes that had once been the battlegrounds of the Orcish clan. As they traveled, Thrall's mind was clouded with doubt. His thoughts constantly turned to Gromish and what he would say if he were still alive. Gromish had always been a symbol of strength, but also of sacrifice. He'd given everything for the future of their people. Could Thrall do the same? As they neared the ancient battlefield, a strange unease settled over the group. The air grew heavy with the weight of history, and Thrall could feel the presence of the spirits watching them. This place was sacred, where countless Orcus had spilled their blood for honor, glory, and survival. They reached the heart of the battlefield, where a massive stone monument stood, carved with the names of fallen heroes. Thrall knelt before it, placing his hand on the cold stone and closed his eye. "Gromish," he whispered, "I need your guidance. Am I leading our people down the right path, or have I lost sight of what it means to be our—" For a long moment there was only silence. Then, in the stillness of the battlefield, Thrall felt a presence. It was as if the wind itself carried the spirit of Gromish Hellscream to him. "You doubt yourself, Thrall," came the voice, deep and resonant, though it was more in Thrall's mind than in his ears. But doubt is not weakness. It is the burden of leadership. Thrall's eyes snapped open, and in his mind's eye, he saw the spirit of Gromish standing tall and proud, his axe resting on his shoulder. The ghostly figure looked down at him, not with judgment, but with the fierce gaze of a warrior who had known the weight of destiny. "Strength is not in how many enemies you conquer, but in how you choose to fight for what matters," Gromish said. "Honor is not in the bloodshed alone. It is in protecting what we hold dear. Peace does not make us weak, Thrall. It makes us strong." Thrall felt a surge of clarity, a connection to the past and the future. Thrall stood up from the ancient monument, his mind sharper, now his doubts beginning to fade. The words of Gromish echoed through him, like the beating of a war drum, steady and powerful. Strength was not in the violence itself, but in the fight for what truly mattered. The future of their people. He needed to remind his tribe of that. The wind howled across the barren landscape as Thrall turned back to his small group of warriors, who had waited quietly while he sought his moment of clarity. Garona stood at the edge of the group, her sharp eyes studying him with a calculating gaze, the flicker of a hidden plan playing behind them. Thrall could see it now. She was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to end his leadership and let the violent faction rise. But Thrall had faced greater challenges before, and he wouldn't allow her to succeed. "We return at once," Thrall announced, his voice carrying with newfound authority. "There is much to be done. We cannot allow our people to be torn apart by those who crave blood more than they value the future." The warriors nodded, but Garona's silence was palpable. She moved toward him, her steps deliberate, and her voice low as she spoke. "Are you certain, Thrall? Not everyone will follow you so easily. You may need to prove that your strength goes beyond word." "Thrall did waver. I've already proven myself. Those who still doubt me will see the truth soon enough." Garona smiled faintly, her eyes cold. "Let us hope they live long enough to understand." As the group began their journey back, the tension between them and Garona grew thicker. Thrall kept his distance from her, his senses heightened to the danger she posed. He knew she would make her move soon. Her ambition wouldn't let her wait much longer. The question was whether she would strike on the road or try something bolder when they returned to the tribe. As night fell, they made camp beneath the stars. The crackle of the fire was the only sound between them, aside from the occasional rustle of the wind through the nearby trees. Thrall sat apart from the others, his mind turning over the choices he'd have to make in the days to come. His people were fracturing, and even with Gromashran's wisdom, he knew that words alone would truly heal those divisions. They would need a symbol, something, or someone to unite them once again. Garona approached quietly, as she always did. "Tara, we should talk, Cray," she said, her tone deceptively calm. "You're different now, more confident, more certain of yourself." Thrall glanced up at her. "Do you?" Garagi knelt beside the fire, her eyes glinting in the firelight. "Your peaceful ways want to work on everyone, Thrall. Some of our people only respect strength, power. You may have wisdom, but that's not enough to lead them." "I know what you were trying to do," Garona Shrend said. "Well," Thrall said, his voice low but firm. "Join I won. Tai let you divide us." Garona's smile widened, but didn't he reach her eyes? "Tara, divide I am. I'm not the one sowing division, Thrall. Your vision is what's tearing the orcas apart. They follow you because they fear you, but they don't trust you anymore. They don't believe you understand what it means to be one of them. And you think killing me will solve that errors?" Thrall said. Our grip on Doomhammer tightened as he spoke, his voice controlled despite the rising anger. Garona's gaze flicked to the hammer, and for a moment, her mask of confidence slipped. "Killing you isn't my goal, Thrall. My goal is restoring our people, Sarasana. If that means taking down a weak leader, so be it. But I don't think you're a weak knot."
Yeah.
Thrall's muscles tensed, ready for a fight, but he didn't move. He stared into the flames, letting the heat steady him. "Thrall, you've chosen your path, Garoma. But you won't succeed. The orcas will unite, and it won't be through bloodshed." Garona's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." In the early hours of the morning, just as the sky was beginning to pale with the first hints of dawn, Thrall felt a shift in the air, a quietness that signaled danger. He sprang up just in time to see Garona, her dagger gleaming in the low light, lunging toward him. Their movements were swift, and in an instant, Doomhammer was in thrall and hand, blocking the lethal strike. Garona twisted, her blade sliding against the hammer's thick enchanted surface, but her eyes burned with determination. She was fast, faster than most warriors Thrall had faced, but she had underestimated him. With a powerful swing, Thrall knocked the dagger from her hand, sending it flying into the dirt. Garona hissed in frustration and leapt back, her body coiled like a viper, ready to strike again. But Thrall didn't give her the chance. He closed the distance between them with surprising speed, grabbing her by the wrist and pulling her to the ground. "Enough!" He roared, his voice echoing across the camp as his warriors stirred awake, rushing to the scene. Garona thrashed, but Thrall's grip was ironclad. He held her down, his hammer raised, ready to deliver a final blow if necessary. But instead, he looked into her eyes, seeing the hatred, the ambition, and the fear all intertwined. He could end her right there, prove his strength in the way the violence faction wanted him to. But that wasn't the Orcish honor Gromish had spoken of. That wasn't his way. He lowered the hammer. "You could have killed me." Garona spat, her breath labored. "I'm not like you," Thrall said, releasing her. "Sorry, killing you would only prove your point. Orcas are more than killers. I lead by example, and mercy is not a weakness. It's what makes us stronger." Garona rose slowly, disbelief flickering across her face. She glanced at the other warriors, now gathered around them, their expressions a mix of shock and confusion. Thrall stood tall before them, his presence commanding. "We have been at war with ourselves for too long," Hank said, addressing the group. "But war does not make us strong. Our strength comes from unity, from knowing when to fight and when to show mercy. Garona sought to divide us, to turn us against each other for her own gain, but we are Orcas, and we stand together." There was a pause, the silence thick with tension, and then one by one, the warriors nodded, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. Garona's eyes flicked between Thrall and the gathered Orcas, realizing that her opportunity had slipped through her fingers. She sheathed her remaining dagger, her shoulders tensed. "This isn't to overthrow," she muttered, before turning and disappearing into the shadows. Thrall watched her go, his heart heavy, but his resolve stronger than ever. The internal struggle among his people wasn't finished, but he had taken the first step. They would remember this day not for the blood that could have been spilled, but for the unity that was forged in its place. As the sun rose over the ancient battlefield, Thrall stood with his warriors, knowing that the future of the Orcas was in his hand. He'd seen the truth in Gromish words. Strength was not just in battle, but in the wisdom to know when not to fight. And now with the tribe beginning to heal, he knew that their honor was not something to be taken, it was something to be earned every day in every choice.